I'm glad to introduce our next speaker, Ville Rauma, Chief Operating Officer at Fingersoft Finland, with his talk titled From Failure to Success.
All right, thank you. Sure. All right, it's really great to be here. My first time in Russia in general, so it's I really liked it so far. And somebody said that I'm supposed to call St. Petersburg Piotr. Hopefully that's the correct way, and I'm not butchering it, but yeah. All right, so my talk is actually kind of a semi-postmodern style talk. So I will be going through two projects that we did at Fingersoft. So I'll introduce those in a bit. So myself, my name is Ville, and I've been working in the games industry for the past little over 10 years now. Mostly before Fingersoft, I worked for a lot of small Finnish studios, and I actually was an entrepreneur for a while as well. And the company went bankrupt. Nobody probably heard about it. A company called Tuonela, but yeah. So ups and downs, and I've mostly done programming jobs and building small teams, development teams, and then ended up kind of running a few of those. So kind of that's my kind of background. About Fingersoft, so we're a mobile game development studio and publisher, and I believe at the moment we're the only mobile game publisher in Finland, because I think Rovio gave up that. It's too difficult, and now so we're trying it, we'll see. We're based in Oulu, Finland, so it's like 1 hour flight from Helsinki up north, so a bit colder and nicer than Helsinki. We have currently 40 employees. The company was founded in 2012 by Tony Fingerroos, and so the company name actually comes from his last name, Fingerroos, Fingersoft. So, yeah. Our internally developed titles are Hill Climb Racing, then I Hate Fish, and Hill Climb Racing 2 so far. Of those, the I Hate Fish and Hill Climb Racing 2 are the ones which I will be speaking about today. And we've also published a number of third-party titles. Actually, I think around 12 games so far. One of the kind of well-known ones are here, like Fail Hard, Benji, Bananas, and Make More, most recently. And we have this slide gets old fast because of the downloads, but I think we are now over 800 million downloads kind of across all the games, all platforms and titles. Yeah, so the structure of the talk, because there's two projects I will be going through, I'll have the same kind of setup for both of them. So first I introduce the project, the concept of the game, and then go through some notable events. And so this is basically a talk about everything that went wrong, which was quite a lot. So it's that kind of talk. And then show the end result. So I have a few trailers to show. It's always nice, some video. And then some takeaways that I think are probably useful. And a lot of them might be kind of obvious on hindsight, but still I think it's a lot of the times obvious things are the things you still kind of miss. All right, so I Hate Fish. It's a funny title. It's actually because the main character in the game, he's a worm who drives a submarine, so he's killing fish. So, yeah. All right, so the project started 2014, early March, basically. It was a young team. The background was there that we had Hill Climb Racing 1 out. It was doing really well. It had been out for 2 years already, still getting loads and loads of installs, making a lot of money for us. But of course, we wanted to make new games as well, so we kind of put a small team to start developing next Fingersoft title. The company itself was very young at the time, so we were only 2 years old as a company. So there was not much organization or anything like that. Basically, we were in a like a house in Kempele near Oulu, like private house, and with a kitchen and everything. So we're there in a single room, basically, everybody. And I actually started myself in January 2014. So I wasn't in this project myself, but I kind of was following it from the sidelines. There was basically no management experience because how the company got started was that Toni Fingersoft first made some camera applications which went really well. He used those to cross-promote Hillclimb Racing by himself, basically, and then he hired his wife as a first employee, and then the kind of company grew from there. So Toni had a lot of game development experience, but not really running teams or running a company. So we didn't really have any idea what we were doing. The management attitude for the project was that, but we knew it was probably going to fail. We weren't that stupid. So we figured, like, let them make the project as best they can and see, what happens. And try not to go meddling in the project. So the except not part there is actually, you'll see it in a bit, but we did actually end up meddling there. Okay, so the concept of the game. So really simple concept. Let's do an underwater game where you have a submarine. The gameplay is that you avoid obstacles, upgrade the ship, and get good. So like simple concept, and that's actually a small screenshot of the first prototype of the game. So just using some, it was a Unity prototype, so just using some assets found on Asset Store, stuff like that. So simple concept, what could go wrong? All right, so the project, so basically it started going wrong early on. So the guy who came up with the prototype and had the vision for the project got moved away, I think, pretty much after the first month because we had a really promising game in our publishing pipeline, which needed a producer. So they moved Jaakko to another project. And of course, you change the vision holder, then the game changes, of course, as well, because everybody has a different idea of any idea, like any game idea, even though it doesn't matter how much fleshed out it is, but it's like that kind of thing. So the game started switching direction. You'll see in a bit what we ended up with. Then the project dragged on for a few more months, and what I noticed myself was that there was really no motivation inside the team. They were kind of always, when you talk to the project guys, they were like when you ask them like, how's it going? When do I get the next build or stuff like that? They were like, I don't know. Like, you didn't really get good answers from them. So that went on for a few more months, and then finally the CEO basically came in and said, like, guys, this is not working out. I will give you until the end of the year, or you can kill the project now. So because we had to do something. So the team kind of talks about it for a few days, and then decides, okay, we'll finish the game in the deadline still, because they felt that maybe they can do better. And one change which we did do is move the original kind of lead, Jaakko, back in like as a half-time producer, basically, because Jaakko is the kind of guy who gets things done. So he was kind of overseeing that the game actually does get into some launchable state by the end of the year. And of course, a difficult crunch, always not cool. Like, we try to avoid those, but we end up doing them anyway. And the game gets done, but we didn't do any kind of due diligence. Basically, we didn't do soft launch, or we had a really, really limited closed beta, but nothing really proper. Yeah, so this is what we ended up with. hopefully I can get it running. Yeah. 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 Yeah, like you saw, it wasn't an avoidance game. It was, underwater and in a submarine, but it basically had almost nothing to do with the original concept. And that trailer was from the only content patch we ever made for the game. So yeah, it was still like a cool game, but it was super difficult. And here are now some numbers. So what's going on? Technical difficulties. Maybe it's the... Yeah, sure. It looks to be the pack itself and not on this end. Yeah, well, I guess I can still talk while they fix it. It's just a wall of text, so hopefully they fix it before the next trailer, because that's even a better one. So we reached some 350,000 installs during the first month, which was December 2014. And what we did is we cross-promoted from Hillclimb Racing 1. So we didn't buy any users or spend any money on marketing on this game, because like we had this mentality always that if we can't get the organic users, then like the game probably is not gonna work. So over its lifetime, the game gained some 1.5 million installs, which is like, it's not horrible, but what happened was that basically the initial installs that we got first month were lost by basically the mid-January, so the next month. So retention was really bad. We had a really bad bug in there that we missed, where players could lose their progress, and in a game which is really difficult. That's always nice. There were like a lot of issues with the kind of keeping players in and stuff like basically like all aspects of the game. And there was basically in the project, there was really no will to continue. People were kind of fed up with it, and the launch tanked, so nobody wanted to work on the game anymore. Okay, let's see. Yeah. And in the end, only like 10% of the cost of development was generated in revenue in this, in the first half year. So it was bummer project for us. So yeah, and the worst part actually was that we didn't kill the game. We let it run until actually last year, when I actually myself finally killed the project. So yeah. So what could be learned from this project? For us at least, one of the biggest issues was that we didn't follow the progress of the project. So the quote here is, we should have realized X times that we were on the wrong track. It was fairly obvious when you look at it afterwards, that things were not going well, like long time before the last few months. The other obvious takeaway, of course, is that like if you change the kind of lead designer or vision holder of the game, then you should have a really serious sit down with the project team that is this actually a project that we can do, because the guy who had the kind of passion to run with it is no longer here. If you just hand it down to somebody else, I'm not sure like if that will ever go that well. Another thing, well, team ownership. So this is obvious thing also. I think most of my points are obvious in hindsight, but kind of in the team itself, if people don't feel that they own the project, like this is my game, I'm proud to be working on this, then that should raise like alarms. So yeah, of course every project has ups and downs, but that should be recognizable. And in this case, we didn't do any post-mortem for the games as well, because we let it linger for many years, basically. So it was never kind of psychologically processed in the company, like what went wrong and why. Yeah. All right. Well, this is really useful. I'm clicking for myself. Yeah, so the next project after that was Hill Climb Racing 2. It kind of didn't start off in a good place, because we just had this failure under our belt, and then you know, kind of there was pressure from the management that we have to do another game, like, because it had been a long time now. It had been 3 years since original Hill Climb Racing was launched, that we, you know, have to prove ourselves to be able to do more than just updates for the original game. But the team was better, of course. They had more experience. Now we hired a few new people. So Hill Climb Racing 2 was a project started with 7 developers. And the kind of working title of the project was actually Hill Climb Racing World Cup. If we were able to see the screen, it's kind of funny because we call it Hill Climb Racing WC, like the toilet. So there is a theme here. Yeah, but the one kind of problematic thing was that we had this motto from management, which was that do not cannibalize Hill Climb Racing 1. So you can do a new game for this IP, but it should be kind of in a direction where we can still keep the first game, because that was basically the milking cow for the company, which made all the money. So the fear was that if we kind of mess with that, we'll kind of ruin the company's finances. So there was this fear there. So the concept, again, was fairly simple. We knew from feedback from Hill Climb Racing 1 that people wanted multiplayer, they wanted leaderboards, they wanted customizations, better, of course, better graphics, better everything. More of the same, but better, you know, with new games like it is. And the first prototype was done in 2015. It was like it was March 2015. And it actually had all of the basic stuff it has now. So it had asynchronous multiplayer. And it was done on top of the Hill Climb Racing 1 engine. So the prototype itself. So let's see. Oh yeah, nice. Thanks. Let's go. Where are we? Where are we? You didn't see. Oh yeah. So here, just for the screenshot, that's like a concept there. No. Why? Yeah. All right. Now it's back. All right. There's the WC. Yeah, Americans never get this, but I guess in here in Europe people get this. So yeah, And here's a screenshot of the kind of first prototype of Hill Climb Racing 2. So basically just a kind of ghost there. And yeah. So yeah, it seemed quite simple to us to make this game. And we thought like, yeah, we'll make this game in like before Christmas this year. So it's gonna be easy once again. It wasn't, and here are some cool screenshots. It's Team Fat versus Team Drunk. It's I think most of our company identified with either one or both. So there's probably our CEO is Fat Man, and at the time Tony. Yeah. Yeah. So notable events for this one. So it only took 2 weeks to make the first prototype. Looks good. So let's go production straight away. Big mistake there, as you will see. And we also were taking in new employees because like when I started early 2014, we have 12 people. At this time, we already had, I think, maybe 18 people. So we put a lot of the new guys straight into this new project. And the pressure was to release by the end of 2015, of course, because now we already had 3 years without a new game. Then, funny thing, CEO decides I will be the lead designer for this project because, like why not? Well, he's a programmer as well by originally, so I guess he felt like he can take it. But if you know any CEOs, you maybe know that they don't really have any time. So it kind of got switched back into the team, and Marco took the lead as a designer. And then the next thing was like in the Christmas of 2015 came and went, and the game was nowhere kind of near even to be finished. So it kind of got this into a similar state than I Hate Fish, where there was a lot of builds and things going on, but still there was no real progress, which is like problematic. And because we didn't do any post-mortem, we didn't really learn from our mistakes. So there was this kind of problematic time. But the core of the argument there was that should it be a really casual game like Hill Climb Racing 1, or should it be like much more competitive and niche game? And there were kind of two strong, opinionated people in the team. One of which wanted to go to a really like more niche, more competitive style of game, and one of the guys wanted to make a more casual kind of title. And they had a like large, not like big fights there, basically to like what are we gonna do with this? And it ended up resolving in a way that actually Marco kind of got fed up and took a month off. So the game direction was decided. Yeah, this is fun. Well, at least you don't kind of fall asleep because we. Yeah. The kind of the direction of the game design was decided this way, which was not of course a good way to make these kinds of decisions, but that's what happened. So basically the guy who took the reins, Mikael, he was the guy advocating for the more casual approach, and that's the way we went. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so the direction is now set, and again we ended up setting a deadline that, guys, you have to have a game by Christmas. So what followed was again big crunch time for the 2016 deadline, and but now that the decision was made on the kind of what the game is going to be like, there was real progress. Like every week, every weekly build was better, and you could clearly see from the sidelines that this is going forward now. yeah, it's a light show. So what ended up happening in the team itself was that Mikael basically, we like this fairly democratic approach to game design where the team, because we usually have small teams, 5 to 7 people thereabouts, so they usually can find a common idea of what big features you should have, stuff like that. But in this case, they were running out of time, so Mikael ended up hammering through a lot of design decisions without kind of doing this talk and be nice kind of thing, which caused a lot of friction, of course, inside the team. So especially in the sauna evenings, they would always come complaining like he wasn't listening to me and stuff like that. So so it wasn't the most harmonious team, but still they made big progress. And in the last 2 months, basically last year's end of last year, kind of the final pieces fell into kind of place. 2 months before December, we started, because we wanted to launch early December. We knew from Hill Climb Racing 1 that the kind of best, we could kind of figure out the best date to launch the game based on the kind of performance of that one, because again, we were going to leverage the cross-promotion from Hill Climb Racing 1. So we knew when there are most players in that game. So we had a date, and 2 months before that, we basically did 1 month closed beta, where we kind of collected, I think it was a few thousand people from Facebook and stuff like that to, basically fans of Hill Climb Racing 1 to use those as a kind of first beta group. And then the last month we did a soft launch. We actually used title Awesome Racing. We had all the production art and everything, so it didn't look like Hill Climb Racing, except of course the gameplay. But we kind of had a fake name. People actually send us email that, are you for real guys? Your game is called Awesome Racing. So yeah, it's gonna be Awesome Racing. Yeah, but we felt that now we actually have a game. And now I would have the trailer. I don't know. There is the display there, which I don't know if you can turn that and use that one. Yeah. What do you think?
We're looking for people.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll show the trailer later if we can, but yeah. So takeaways, Hill Climb Racing 2. How many, by the way, have played Hill Climb Racing 1 or 2? A few people, yeah. Well, almost. Well, it should be if it's 800 million downloads for all of our games. So some of you have to have played them. Well, anyway, takeaways. I think management side, I wasn't in management then, but I always say we. With anything like this. So we failed to set realistic goals. So the first launch date, December 2015, it was never realistic based on the kind of project, the way project was going. So actually the team kind of even felt it was a little bit of an internal joke, with the launch date. So they never took it seriously. We didn't set any financial or popular goals for the game. So it was, we were making money from the first game, so there was not that much financial pressure. We were still gonna get paid our salaries, but for this kind of high-profile project, there really should be some kind of goals. So yeah, we will do that in the future. So something to kind of reach towards too. The management approach, so switching again leads basically 2 times in a project, caused a lot of problems. The game probably could have been done in a lot shorter time if there was a consistent kind of project management style and person there. Graphic and UI, UX design side, our art director said that basically they did the UI UX full redesign 3 times in production in this game. Like no, you can easily use all kinds of tools to design your UI, like the flow of the UI, like how do you get to places and stuff like that. We had like path style, carousel style, grid style UIs, everything, and it was always done like with production assets and stuff like that. No, you should do that in the design phase. Also responsibility of the style of the game, like graphical style. The owner of the company would come in and say to the art director, like, I don't like this style. Well, off it goes, out the door. And no, it shouldn't work like that. You have people for a reason there, so they know their stuff, and so I think he had ended up having at least 6 style versions, which we went to focus groups and everything like that, which in itself is a good one to do, but still we didn't really have a process in place to who gets to make the decisions on style, on the design, stuff like that. Game design side, we didn't take metagame and monetization design really seriously. We thought well, we have a really cool working core game, so how hard can it be? You just, slap some gacha on top and that's fine. No, it doesn't work. It's really hard to make a good metagame for a free-to-play game. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of Excel sheets and stuff like that to find a good balance between the kind of free play aspects and the monetization aspects of the game. So I would say use a lot of time in the earliest possible to kind of figure out what the kind of metagames and stuff like that is going to be. Of course, if you have this kind of casual game where I think that's the main problem for us, was that we were really used to making good physics-based gameplay, but we had no experience in this kind of deep metagame stuff. Also, I would advise you to take tools aspect into account. We kind of still have a quite long lead time. We take a month to make a content update, so new vehicle, new map. So it's too long. I would like to have the kind of updates every 2 weeks or so. And we will have a new update soon, which will have a lot of live ops stuff, which is nice. I think there's going to be a long jump competition style thing next. Validation side. So how do you know that your game is good? Test early, test often, and test with real players. That's the only way to do it. It's use a little money if you need to do some UA and buy some users to find out basic stuff. And we also used a lot of there's services which has people play your game and then they have to talk the whole way through, what am I doing, what am I thinking? So we used that a lot to kind of finalize the UI design, in a phase where you actually have a playable game. That's a good way to find out some of the kind of more basic kinks which your own developers will not see because they see the game every day. And what else? Closed beta, soft launch take a long time. If you want to have day 30 retention, your game, you need 30 days for that specific build. So they take time, and I think you should take as long as you need to if you can. Of course, it kind of depends on financials as well. And finally, really should do the postmortem. We had a really cool postmortem for this Hill Climb Racing 2 project where we sat down with the whole team, talked for I think 3 or 4 hours, and people got to kind of say out their own thing, what went wrong in the art direction side, what went wrong on game design side, what went wrong with how we managed the project and all that. So that was really healthy, and I think the next project will be much better for it. And the final slide is basically some numbers. Right now we are around 90 million installs for Hill Climb Racing 2, not counting China, which went out on Android, I think end of July thereabouts, and they had like first day 7 million installs. So I think that it's going to be fairly big in China as well. And what else? It's played in 233 countries around the world, and it's quite strong. I think Russia is actually our third biggest player base. So. Yeah, average score 4.61 with 1.5 million reviews. So people love it. Yeah, it's too bad I didn't get to show the trailer. That would have been nice. But yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think questions time, or do we have time for that? Yes. All right. Thank you. You can actually go to YouTube and just look Hill Climb Racing 2 trailer. You can see it there.
Thank you, Ville.
Yeah, questions
Any
there.
questions?
Back there, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just shut it up. The question that I had was talking about...
It's still flashing there.
You were talking about when you were trying to work out the design for your sequel, you were talking about, well, what your players were looking for.
Yeah.
How did you collect that feedback?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have two full-time internal support guys who answer to all of the customer feedback we get, and those guys collect a lot of the things we know about our players, like what sort of things they usually ask for. We actually kind of try to do these sheets, like basically if you have same comment from a lot of people, then we try to collect those, and then hopefully we can integrate stuff like that into the game. Not of course everything, but yeah.
Anyone else?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Which of the two projects were spiritually closer to you and to your team during the development?
Sorry, closer?
To you and your team.
To me? Yeah.
During development.
Like you mean like more personal or important?
More personal, more common, more involved. And
Oh, for me personally, yeah. Hill Climb Racing 2, and of course for the team as well. It's like you don't get that kind of opportunity often. Like the motivations were much better. Like it's we knew that we were gonna get players for sure, like with Hill Climb Racing 2. But so there was really big strive to make it perfect, make as awesome game as we can. So I think in that way it was an easier project because there was no problem with the motivation. Everybody wanted to make a perfect game. It was more like the aspects like I talked about with the design direction and stuff like that. Yeah. Hopefully that was the answer. Was there somebody else? Oh. Hi.
Hello, thank you. So what was the managing problems about you talking about?
Problems with, sorry.
One more time, please.
Yeah, sorry.
What was the management problems you are talking about?
Management problems. Yeah, so I meant basically like we didn't pick like the team lead or the vision holder clearly and point to this guy that, hey, this guy is now the lead of this project, because you should do that, I think, at least for our company. If there's no clear guy to go to who can have the final say when you need to, then that is going to cause problems because nobody, like who's responsible. So I think that was a management problem, at least, if that was what you were asking, hopefully. Yeah.
Could you please elaborate a bit more on your post-mortem experience? Because 4 hours is a lot. How did you control it?
We had one of our guys actually did a few phases. So we actually, I think we used probably, like if you go to just Google, you have a lot of suggestions on how to do post-mortems. One way was that we first took everybody took some post-it notes and write down the biggest problems you had in this project and write down the biggest good things, like good experiences or things we did right in this project, and then collect those, and then start the conversation from there when we had those kind of list of things people were, feeling about that. That's, I think for us it worked well because maybe speaking out is not that easy for everybody. So writing it down and going from there worked for us. So, yeah. One more.
Yeah, one more. Sorry. Yeah, I was wondering, what was your process for releasing sort of the build reskinned as a sort of a test project? That's intriguing to me. I was kind of curious.
Yeah. So we were, the kind of thinking there was that because it was hill climb racing, we were afraid that we'll get too many soft launch installs. So that's why we went through the whole process of actually designing a different style awesome racing, which was not the game, and then we just went soft without any UA, any stuff like that, and just use a little bit of cross promotion to find users for that game, and then go from there. Actually, when we, funny story, short one, when we did the real soft launch with the real everything, it went viral in China, and we got 600,000 installs in one day. They got hold of the APK, and it was mad. We had to ban China from our servers until because the game wasn't done. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much for your speech. I have a question about your first project. You mentioned that your team was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Then you made I Hate Fish game.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us a little background about your company when it started 2 years before the I Hate Fish?
Yeah, sure. For the first 2 years, the company was basically only focusing on content updates for Hill Climb Racing 1. So all the people who were there since year 1 were people who were just doing content for Hill Climb Racing 1, and that was the kind of basis from which we grew. So people were hired in the beginning. I actually started 2014 for the first 2 years. I wasn't there, but yeah, that was what they did. Just content for Hill Climb Racing 1.
Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks.
One more detail.
Yeah?
Your team started with some budget. How many people you had when you started your first racing game?
First racing, well, Tony started alone with Hill Climb Racing 1. So he made the game by himself. His wife did some graphics for it. And then he hired his best friend Teemu, who's now our CEO, as the third person in the company. And that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
Anybody else?
There.
Hi, thanks for speech.
Huh?
Yeah, for me it's interesting about your first project too, where you find money or budget for your first game, and in which you spend it in which, I don't know, roads. Maybe you did it on yourself only, and you didn't spend your money.
So the first game, the way it went was Tony had been working in another companies. He was actually owner of one game company before Fingersoft, and he kind of, it didn't go so well for that company. He quit, and then he wanted to try one more time by himself. Basically, because he didn't want to go. He was a really great programmer already by then, but he didn't want to work for somebody else, like go to IT or something. That's always the final backstop for us programmers. It's like if we can't do anything else, we can go to IT, normal job. But he basically did camera applications first, and fish islands and stuff like that, and then those got fairly good number of users, and he used those to cross-promote to get installs to Hill Climb Racing originally. So he didn't have any money. He just, worked on Finnish unemployment checks or something like that to make the first game. Ooh, the colors are wrong, but it's like, do we have time to show the video? Can I show this? Do we have to? Yeah, we'll give up. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ville.
Yeah, thanks.
We apologize for the technical problems.
Well, it happens. What are you going to do? I think if you had the Canon die out, that's bad.
We're here with another one of the participants on 4C. Hi, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jean-Philippe Morel from Ubisoft Montreal. I'm working on Rainbow Six Siege.
Very nice. What was your first video game ever? Do you remember it?
Oh my God. I did a port of a very... Oh no, I don't want to talk about it. It was called War Chess. I don't know if anyone knows about it, but it's just a port of a PC game to console game on PS2 like 15 years ago. But my first real game, I would say, was I worked on Prince of Persia, several Prince of Persia at Ubisoft.
That's very nice. What was your first video game that you've played?
Oh, the first that I've played? Oh. On the Atari 200. I don't know if I say it correctly in English. It was called Smurf.
That's an old one.
Yeah, it's a real old one. Yeah, it's an old one.
And well, now that the time has passed, what's your favorite video game of all time? Do you have one?
Of all time? Oh my God, that's a good question. I would say I spent a lot of time playing Unreal Tournament a while ago, but yeah, Unreal.
The very first one?
Yeah, the very first one. Yeah.
Absolutely. What led you to the video game industry? How did you come here?
Oh, it's a technical challenge. The technical challenge is I first wanted to make graphics, but I realized that was not really my thing. I like to build machines, like machines that can scale, that can live for a long time. The technical challenges in video game industry is...
now that you're in it, what's your favorite thing about the industry? What do you like most about it?
It's the same thing, exactly what I said. It's building machines, building bigger machines, machines that scales. I'm not even that interested in the nature of the game. That may disappoint you, but it's more the machine that I'm building that interests me. And I have a lot of creative people around me to make some good games.
So it's the technical side of things that you're into?
Exactly.
All right. So anything you particularly don't like about the modern state of the industry, maybe?
I worked with really big teams. It's not really that I don't like them, but I prefer some smaller scale team, probably. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind. What else? Oh, that's pretty much what I'm thinking about now.
Fair enough. Let's make some predictions. What do you think will be the new thing, the new big thing, the new trend in the gaming industry in like 10 years' time?
Oh, in 10 years' time? Well, I won't say it's new, but I think there will be more and more games that lives for a very long time, that evolves that over time, and I think that's a trend that will continue over the next years.
Do you think it will be like a breakthrough point through some game, or it's just going to be like a slow progressional evolution into this state?
I think it's going to be a slow evolution, and I think it's going to be a slow evolution mostly because we need to adapt to that kind of mentality in the game industry, and
fair enough. If you had absolute creative freedom, which I don't know, maybe you have, but still, like absolute creative, financial, professional freedom, what game would you like to have made?
I will keep that secret if you don't mind.
We almost had an announcement here.
I have good ideas, but I will keep that for myself.
Okay, but that's a secret then. Is it a secret on what do you think is more important in games, like graphics or gameplay, or maybe the storytelling?
No, I think it's everything is building a community and make it that community grows and grows and grows, and make that community grows over time, and so we can build on that for many years on the same kind of titles.
Okay, great. Let's return to the real world for a second from video games. We're in St. Petersburg. What do you think about the city?
Oh, we had a good time yesterday. I was just trying to find a good place to go, and it's awesome. We had a tour of the whole city. We had a boat trip. It was awesome. It was awesome, really.
Right. What about the event itself for C? I know it just started, but still, any impressions?
Oh, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the talk Friday and Saturday. I want to know more about what people think about the future of gaming industry.
Maybe something specific you're looking forward to, some specific speech or lecture?
Yeah, I'm very interested about monetization. How monetization, I told you I like big machines, build big machines, and monetization is something that we need to learn a lot. How it works. How we integrate that to game, and I'd like to see how other developers are doing that. Some massive online infrastructure also I want to see. I want to hear more about that, how people are doing that.
If you were interviewing yourself right now instead of me, what would you ask yourself?
At what time is the party? Saturday?
Well, I guess you'll have to answer this question yourself. Either way, I have you have a great time at the party, and you have a great time at the event itself. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much.
so we keep catching our speakers in the hallway and putting cameras in front of them. Hi, please introduce yourself.
My name is Samuel Ranteskla. I work for Microsoft as a principal program manager out of Sweden.
Okay, Samuel, so let's talk about games. What's your favorite game?
Well, I wish I played a lot more games than I actually do. So I have to go back into the past. Like one of my really favorite games is Jag the Lions 2 from like 92, 93. I think it was made here in Russia, if I'm not mistaken. Civilization, always been a big fan of that. And then the Enemy Unknown UFO trilogy from the 90s. There's so many games, I mean, it's like impossible to select one. But they're all strategic games, the ones that are my favorite.
Yeah, you're obviously a tactician. That's commendable. But do you remember the very first game you've ever played?
Decathlon, probably on the x86, somewhere around 84.
Wow, that's... I don't even remember that one.
It's like you basically play Decathlon and you just hammer at the keyboard to go faster, like 10 different sports events. Played it like crazy. I was 8 years old then.
Wow. How did you get into the gaming industry?
It was by chance, actually. So I was studying at Uppsala University, doing computer science, and they had this fair where companies were meeting the students. And there was these two guys that they've started a game company in the basement, and they wanted somebody to write a BSP tree, binary space partitioning tree. And I was looking for my thesis, so I figured let's combine those. So I joined them, I wrote my thesis in the games industry, and then from there on kind of like just went on. So this was 2000.
But now in 2017, what's your favorite and least favorite thing about game dev?
I mean, I think the games industry is awesome. Great place to work, there's so much passion, there's skilled, very intelligent people. I think that's my favorite thing. The least favorite thing is that, which I covered in my speech a little bit, I think that we're looking a little bit too much at how do we turn time into money, rather than seeing like how do we educate our kids. I really want to, that's my passion myself, is like take this experience, make our kids better tomorrow than they are today. I'm a parent as well, so that's coming from that.
Well, that's a very noble thing to do.
I don't know if noble, just I think it would be a good thing for us.
Definitely is. About your speech, did you have any interesting questions that maybe stood out?
Yeah, there was some interesting questions, like if we look at mixed reality, what's going to happen with that? What's the dangers with that? I couldn't really answer them because let's see what happens.
But if you were a part of your own audience, what question would you like to ask yourself?
That was a tricky one. Are you sure that you're right?
Are you?
No.
Well, we can be sure 100%, but still, we're trying to foresee the future here. How do you like the conference?
Love it. St. Petersburg, great place. Wargaming, excellent hosts. It's a great place to be. You should come to the next one.
Definitely do. Say, if you had the chance to go back in time to when you just started working in the industry and give yourself one advice, what would it be?
Try one of your ideas out.
That's very good. Thank you very much, Samuel. I hope you like the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.